Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively, we are the Daytona Office Blokes 500s.
Ooh.
Nice.
Proper clutching at straws there.
Yep.
We are the Office Blokes, and our Super Bowl halftime show that we reacted to. We did the live watch along, but then we reacted to the full show.
Yeah.
Outright blocked on YouTube. Rihanna.
What a shame.
So where can people find it, Mike? Or where will they be able to find it as soon as it goes
They
on
can
there?
find it right on our Patreon channel. Go down there, check it out, because patreon.com. You can be on there for just £1.50 a month if you fancy supporting the channel.
Bargain.
So, it's cheap. And you'll get not only the Super Bowl halftime show on there, but you'll get Keen Peel, Malice at the Palace.
Nice.
No, it's all sorts in there.
Yeah, fair enough. Right then, the Daytona 500s coming up
This weekend?
Yeah.
What day is it?
Famous race.
Sunday.
Or Saturday.
I don't know much about it, if I'm being honest. I know it's a big race.
I think. I'm not sure if it's the opening race of the season.
Right, okay.
The NASCAR season. The NASCAR season's about to start. It must be around about this time because it's everywhere. It's weather would not permit for NASCAR to be done in the winter.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
I know Daytona's in Florida and all that kind of stuff, and the weather's decent around there all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a sport that probably starts around this time of the year. So I think this might be the opening race.
Right, okay.
Let us know in the comments. I'm not a massive NASCAR fan. I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough to know whether this is the opening race.
Same here.
Or things like that for the
Yeah.
NASCAR season.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling it is.
Those
Yeah.
stands are absolutely insane as well, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of people
We
there.
were talking the other day on our channel with Aidan, and I was saying about like different. We were talking about attendances and starting stadiums being a certain size because we obviously like going around stadiums. Aidan's a massive stadium fanatic at the moment, and I think the biggest attendance or the biggest stadium in the world. Do you know where it is?
For a sports event.
Sporting events, yeah.
You'd think some of the racing and stuff is obviously it's a wider area, so
Yeah,
it's got
yeah.
the potential
Yeah.
for more
I
people.
mean, obviously, F1, you get a lot there. You can get like 140,000 plus, can't you?
Yeah.
Certain.
It's going to be something different,
tracks.
though, isn't it? It's going to be a curveball.
No, it's the Indianapolis Raceway.
All right, okay.
It's all the top ones are all horse racing and motor racing.
Yeah.
And Indianapolis Raceway holds something like I think it's 267,000 people.
Wow.
something like
That's
that. Yeah.
That's insane.
Wow.
And it's same. I think this is 167 or 160. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
But do you know what's number 2 on the list in the world?
No.
Ascot,
Really?
Wow.
over 200,000.
What, Ascot? Is it?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I never knew that.
it's 200,000, over 200,000 seats, and then you get over. Obviously, you get a lot of standing and so on
Standing, yeah.
around the tracks, and that's what you get here as well. But also, what do you know what holds 200,000 as well, which blew my mind? Badminton.
What?
Yeah,
Is that going to be in somewhere
No,
like...
the horse trials, you mean?
yeah, the horse trials, not
Yeah.
the game.
Oh, right, okay.
Not the game badminton,
Right.
the horse trials, the badminton, the horses. Yeah,
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that was that big.
me neither.
So,
I didn't know horses
I
could...
knew badminton's huge. Not the
Yeah.
game, the
Yeah.
horse trial thing, like you say.
yeah.
But it's I know it's big, but I didn't realise it was that big.
Wow, I didn't. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, interesting. But then you go
yeah,
anyway. Yeah.
educational.
But look at the crowds there. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's
huge.
insane, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
to think how far high up and how far back you actually are if you're right in the nosebleeds.
It's not even
there.
the top of it, that, is it?
No.
You could probably see more of the track up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But if you fall down like that, was it an Eagles fan that got pantsed and then rolled down the stairs at the NFL?
Probably an Eagles fan.
The big fat guy.
Wow.
You're not going to stop, are you? Let's do it anyway. The top 10 Daytona 500s.
The Daytona 500 is NASCAR's greatest race, the great American race. There's been so much history put in it. It has defined NASCAR since its inception. And today I want to look at the greatest of the great. Now, I'm going to say this going right into it. This will not look directly at the racing itself. There's been a lot of Daytona 500s that have had great racing, but are not remembered as great ones. This will look at great moments. This will look at cultural impact in NASCAR as well as in culture in general and how NASCAR fits in. It will look at the racing and it will look just overall at how fans look at these races. So without further ado, let's get into it. At number 10 is the 1976 Daytona 500. Listen, there is one reason in particular that this one is so big, because when a lot of fans look back at this race, they're not really as keen to it as a lot of people who are more history-based. And for me, the reason this one has to be on the list is the fact that it was the first great moment in the Daytona 500 that was really kind of shared around in color film, not in a black and white photo or in replays. And it was Petty versus Pearson at that. These were the two greatest drivers in NASCAR's history in the first half of NASCAR. And to see that these two had such a great battle where they didn't mean to crash each other, they were just racing so hard they took each other out. That is something that NASCAR is all about. Pushing it to the limit, whether you mean to or not. And for that reason, it has to be on the list.
Wow.
At number 9 is the 2010 Daytona 500. This race was the start of a new decade, and in a lot of ways you could see NASCAR changing, and this was really one of those big pushes to show that NASCAR was not going to be the same way it was in the 2000s. Now, this also was the final race on Daytona's old surface, so handling was a huge issue. You saw these cars darting around, you saw single car spins, and you saw basically the best of the best that drivers had. People say that Daytona and Talladega racing is really not talent-based racing, but I beg to differ when you look back at old Daytona footage like this. Then, of course, you had the famous pothole caution and the red flag that followed, and after that, it was like someone shot a gun off, and everyone went for Broke for the win. It was the first Daytona 500 with multiple green-white checker finishes, and in the end it was Jamie McMurray having to hold off Dale Jr.'s hard charge to get the win in the Great American Race. At number 8 is...
Must be so frustrating when you're going for the overtake and it's just whatever you do, someone's in front of you.
I know, yeah.
I read an article last week. I don't know. Someone's going to have to let me know in the comments on this because I've never followed up on it. There was a guy called... I think his name's Kyle Busch, who's a driver in the Daytona 500. Or in the NASCAR series, and I think he's like, I want to say he's one of the favourites to be like, I think he's one of the better ones, better drivers.
Right, okay.
Maybe just changed team. I think I read that he's gone back to a team that he used to be in. But I think he got arrested in Mexico for carrying a gun.
Oh, really? What, recently?
A few days ago.
Oh, right.
Just before the race. Wow. The race is this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think he got arrested in Mexico a few days ago. I was reading.
I bet there's some pretty wild guys, the NASCAR drivers, some of them.
Well, when you go to Mexico anyway, you got to really take a gun. You know what I mean? Thought it was a part of the, I don't know, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, gun. You know what I mean?
I think as non-fans, we definitely watch it for the naughty behaviour, don't we? Like the crashes, the fights.
That's the only reason I'm watching NASCAR for anything like that. But I think Daytona's quite an iconic race, isn't it? Same as the Indy 500.
Everyone knows
the same sort of thing, and it's just an iconic race. But let me know in the what did he get released, or I'm not sure what happened to him, whether he's still in jail or whether he got arrested or whether he got released.
If he misses the race because he's in jail, it's a conspiracy. It's like someone planted it.
I don't think he's
his rival team.
I don't think he's the. I think he's one of the top drivers, but I think Bowman's probably the best driver. I think at the moment. I might be probably. I've got these probably from Indy or something like that. It's probably not even NASCAR. People will say, "We dickhead, not even you're about." But I think Bowman's like the one of the better drivers in NASCAR.
Yeah,
right.
I think he might have. I don't know if he got pole or whatever. I saw it the other day where it was like they were. What do you call it? Like going for pole qualifying and all that kind of stuff. Where they go for different things. And I think Bowman might have got pole. I don't know, but it's. But I was just reading about this guy, Kyle Busch, and I was like, never heard of him really, as far as like a NASCAR driver goes. But he got arrested in Mexico.
Oh dear.
Wow.
It's the 2016 Daytona 500, and this one looked a lot like 2010 in the sense that old school racing was applicable here. A lot of the field got spread out, and handling was a huge issue. Looking directly at guys like Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., some of the best at Daytona and in the sport, having issues and spinning out at times because it was so hard to drive. Of course, at the end, the pack came back together, and there was a huge race at the end because, well, there weren't that many cars getting taken out. There was no giant crash like usual compared to other Daytona races. But the big part is where Denny Hamlin in the last lap flew up through the pack from about 5th or 6th, came up, challenged teammate Matt Kenseth, who almost spun out and had an amazing save that nobody ever seems to talk about, and then drag race Martin Truex Jr. to the line to have the closest Daytona 500 finish ever at 1/100th of a second. At number 7 is another old one that not many people have seen too much of, and there isn't as much footage as people would want, but because of the historical context, needs to be on this list. And it's a 1959 Daytona 500, the first Daytona 500. This race started NASCAR on a trajectory that really did help prime it to get to the point that it was of takeoff. Yes, NASCAR was small at the time, but the Daytona 500,
And people just stood on the side of the track there, and
You've got lanes as well.
lanes as well, yeah.
I've seen loads of them
Wow.
with the rally over here, and like a Subaru Impreza just goes over someone's
Yeah.
I know.
It's
Mental, isn't it? that?
nuts.
Yeah. Rally driving really is like
That is
elite
crazy,
level
isn't it? I mean,
nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, they are drivers. They are,
Especially
aren't
when
they?
you
So
see
dangerous.
like they fly around a blind bend and there's a sheep or a tractor there
Yeah.
or something that shouldn't be there.
But you just the way they drive, you get the drivers, their experience, the professional drivers. It's the crowd that bother me.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
way
absolutely.
they stand
Hairy,
there.
yeah, it really is.
Photographers.
Yeah.
Try to get the picture.
I
and
think some been injured and killed over the years, haven't they?
They have,
For being
yeah.
getting a bit too close.
Have you seen the loads of people do drifting in the streets and like doing donuts and burnouts and stuff? There seems to be this culture of like a few hundred people stand round and people get in the middle of the cars and people like are trying to play chicken with the back end of the car.
Yeah.
I've seen so many videos recently of people just getting whacked.
Someone
And
up
it
in
sends
Trafford
them-
Park, Trafford Park not long ago. The girl got killed.
Yeah,
That was
but
it.
that was
Yeah.
I think they were drag racing though, weren't they?
Donut drifting.
Right. I've seen loads of these videos recently though, and it's like someone's 30 foot over there all of a sudden because they were getting too close.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scary.
Yeah.
Was a grueling race that drivers could really compare to something like the Indy 500. It was NASCAR's Indy 500 in that sense. And with it being the first race, the finish was one to remember as well. It was 3 wide to the finish, 2 of those cars being for the win, 1 of which being a lap down. And it took days to decide by design of NASCAR leader Bill France Sr. And Big Bill got his wish of having this race of being something that was water cooler talk for tons of racing fans across America. So this one has to be on the list, and for me, it's at number 7. At number 6 is the 2005 Daytona 500, one that is not remembered as much as the more famous ones. I will say right now, just to get all of my bias out of the way, this for me objectively is my favorite Daytona 500. You see, it was a slow burn race, and for me, that's something I love to watch. It started out very spread out. Handling, again, as I'm going to say a lot in this video, was a huge factor when it came to who was fast, who was mediocre, and who was just downright slow. Most of the day was dominated by 3 guys, Tony Stewart, Michael Waltrip, and Jeff Gordon. But you see, 2 of them had very big problems, and it was their Achilles heel at the day's end. Michael Waltrip with the blown engine, and Tony Stewart with the fact that he could not move the car around. He was only fast on the bottom line. So, because of this, if someone was fast up top, well, they were able to get by. And that was Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the end. Jr. had struggled all day, but had somehow managed to get his poor handling car, that later was reported to have a few different pieces broken, and he was managing to go up there and take the lead away from Tony Stewart. But the race was not over as Jeff Gordon managed to outduel Little Lee and get his final Daytona 500. To me, this race should be remembered as an instant classic. Breaking into the top 5, we have the 1993 Daytona 500. And this one is on here for 2 reasons. One is the competitive level of it. Early on in early restrictor plate racing, it was more competitive than unrestricted racing. But the thing is that it still wasn't to the level of competition that we're used to and expecting to see today. So with 38 lead changes in the early 90s plate era, it was kind of unheard of in a lot of senses. A lot of times drivers would lead well over 100 laps and it would just be a slog through the day. But in the end, even though Dale Earnhardt did dominate this race, it was another Dale that was dueling him, Dale Jarrett. And the thing that makes this race so memorable and so important is the fact that his father, Ned Jarrett, was the one who was announcing the race to his son's victory. Nicknamed the Dale and Dale Show, this race will forever live on in NASCAR history.
Yeah.
At number 4, we have the 2014 Daytona 500. This was one that kicked off an amazing season for NASCAR's Cup Series. See, it started off single file for the most part, and the early part of the race during the day was pretty much a slog to get through. And then the rain delay didn't make it any better, and you kind of thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be one of those bad races that we're just going to race to halfway to whenever they get back racing. Well, we were all wrong. It was absolute hell breaking loose that night. There was 3 and 4 wide racing throughout the night. The lead was changing back and forth. And for the plate package that really was in NASCAR from about 2013 through 2019, this was the best race of all of them. There was a little controversy with the Casey Kane penalty, but it was definitely overshadowed by the final runs of the race where Dale Jr. would duel guys like Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, you name it. Jr. showed his mastery in the draft and got the most popular win probably of the decade. Now, maybe the most...
Think about the speeds they're doing and the like
inches.
a foot between each car. If
Yeah.
that is crazy.
It's one of them. I don't know. Someone's going to have to let us know in the comments who knows about NASCAR. But I don't know the names. Obviously, you've got names like Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson.
Every
Kyle
other-
Busch is still racing. 'Cause I read about him the other day.
Every other guy is called Kyle.
Yeah, but I'm wondering.
Definitely.
I'm wondering if people like Dale Jr. is still racing and Jeff Gordon, because they were the two names over here. So like they kind of brought the sport here. I'd say.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. I thought they promoted it more over in Europe than anywhere.
I guess physically, you're probably capable of doing it for a lot longer than you would doing F1
Yeah.
or something. Because
maybe.
you've got to be like your body composition and everything's got to be perfect for F1, hasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
But 200 laps, how long is a lap taking?
Is it 500 miles the race? Is that why it's called 500?
That's what I was thinking. It can't be 500 laps, can it?
No,
That's
it's
too much.
at the start of the races. It said on all of them, like, one of 200.
Yeah.
And
So it's 500. I think it's 500 miles the race.
Yeah.
so then, like a 2.5 mile track.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I'd guess that'd be about right, wouldn't
Be about
it? 2.5
right,
mile
yeah.
track, I would guess.
And they're doing
yeah.
speeds of like 100, 150 miles an hour. I know they're slowing
Probably
down.
plus, isn't
like,
it? Probably 150.
I don't think they slow down, do they? I think they just go.
150, 180. I guess they've got the pedal to the floor all the time, haven't
I
they?
think
It's just
full on.
yeah.
So
I'd
those-
like to know actually about the engines and stuff, if they're all exactly the
Same.
same type of engines and things.
I
And
think it's 2 or 3 different cars, isn't it? I think it's Toyota, Chevy, and Ford. Is it?
Yeah, it looks
Right.
like it looks
right,
like
okay.
a Mondeo or something
I don't know
similar.
what the Ford. I don't know what the Ford is. I'm guessing it's a Camry for the Toyota.
The Ford looks like a Mondeo. I just don't
And
know.
the Chevys,
like-
I don't know. Is it an Impala or something like that?
yeah, in
Maybe?
that sense, I know nothing about it, about what type
No.
of cars and what
No.
they're allowed
Yeah.
to have. If they,
They're just kind of ruthless engines.
I'm guessing they've
aren't
got
they?
to be fairly similar because they always seem pretty close, don't they? So
It was like the Aussie do one as well, don't they? With the V8s,
Yeah.
which is similar. They're
Yeah.
all the same sort of. I think they're all the same engines in it as well. Don't know.
Just probably slight little tweaks to tyres and aerodynamics. And
Yeah, I
things
suppose
like
it is.
that
I mean,
can
you
be
drive
Driver
a
skill.
driver
driver
skill,
skill,
as well,
absolutely. Yeah, that's what it should be all be about, really. Isn't it?
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, is there an advantage of going up to the top? Because you're obviously then coming down a bit of a gradient, aren't you? Like,
Yeah, it's probably the right move for the right time, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah, maybe. But obviously, going along the top, you're
Further-
technically going
further
further, aren't you?
along,
Longer
yeah.
distance.
That's
but,
what I was thinking.
But if everyone's maxed out, then the only way you're going to get ahead of someone might be getting that extra momentum.
I suppose at the
Coming
top
down,
it's less
coming down.
tight at the top as well, isn't it? Whereas at the bottom,
Yeah.
it's a tighter turn,
but
isn't
like
it?
you
So
say, go up to come down at speed.
yeah, and maybe you
Yeah.
can go because it's not quite as tight at the top. You can probably go maybe
Yeah.
that little bit faster.
Yeah.
Whereas at the bottom, you probably can't go quite as fast because it's a
Right.
bit tighter. So it's
Get me in the mood
a
for
lot of
this. though.
variables.
Yeah.
Probably get me in the mood for
Yeah.
it.
The concentration levels to do 200 laps of that. I mean,
Well,
what,
yeah.
are they driving for like a couple of hours, 3 hours?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It will be. I guess it's got to be something like that, hasn't
2.5,
it?
3 hours, yeah.
Maybe 2-3 hours, I would guess.
I'd nod off after about an hour.
You wouldn't. You'd be so intense. Nod off with a guy this far in front of you and a guy that far behind you.
Yeah.
And then one there and one there.
They can carry you.
You'd be like that.
most popular victory in the Daytona 500 ever was by Dale Earnhardt in the 1998 Daytona 500. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you, the racing itself is nothing special in this race, and had Dale Earnhardt not won it, we would not remember it. The late 90s NASCAR racing at Daytona and Talladega was not as good as stuff before or definitely after it. But you see, the big thing for this race is how important it is to Dale Earnhardt's legacy. Of course, we've all heard Mike Joy's call. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration, Dale Earnhardt comes to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. That's the thing. Had Dale Earnhardt not won this race and either retired or passed away like he did, he would always be remembered as having a 0 at the Daytona 500, even though he had great results outside of it.
That answers your
Answers
question
that
about
one,
whether or not
doesn't
it's
it?
still racing.
Yeah.
No, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, so that's the dad.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
right, okay.
I was going to say, because he'd probably be about 60 odd now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Dale
'Cause he was-
Earnhardt was another great name in racing, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. was just as big name in racing.
Right,
Yeah,
Just
I
as,
get
as
you.
big. But I think I read as well when I was reading about Kyle Busch, I think I read about Jimmy Johnson. I think he's just qualified for this race, for the Daytona 500 this weekend. I think he was like one of the, I don't know, I wouldn't say a wild card, but I think he's just got enough. I think he's just got enough good time to get in or something
Yeah,
like that.
right, okay.
Whereas normally he wouldn't have qualified, but
Yeah.
so obviously he's still driving.
It
Jimmy Johnson.
probably is a proper sort of dead man's shoes sport, isn't it? Where like the standings are probably pretty consistent, and so to break into that is going to be hard when careers can go on for decades.
Well, you've got the different teams, haven't you? It's not just I don't know how many teams there are, but it's I'm guessing each team has 2 drivers, a bit similar to like Formula 1, I'm guessing.
Yeah, not too sure how it works actually, but yeah.
And I guess they've got their own cars and their own engines. They'll probably what certain team will go with just Chevy, and certain teams will go with just Ford or just Toyota or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And how do we know this? Well, we see Tony Stewart has a similar legacy, and Kyle Busch is kind of building the same kind of legacy. Dale Earnhardt would be that times 1,000. But we saw the great win. We saw him do donuts through the infield, and to this day, this win is probably one of the most replayed ones of any in Daytona 500 history because of the significance it has to the sport. At number 2 is the 1979 Daytona 500. And I know a lot of people are going to be against me for this, but again, this is my personal thoughts on the matter. See, the big thing with this race to start with was the fact that it was the first race to be televised flag to flag with coverage, and NASCAR really capitalized on it. There was a huge snowstorm on the East Coast that got a lot of people inside watching that race. It was also Dale Earnhardt's first 500 where he showed a lot of good competitive racing throughout it. But of course, we all remember this race, and we all know this race for the fight and the finish. The finish between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, where they got into each other, hit each other, spun into the outside wall of turn 3, and then, of course, Richard Petty gets past and wins the race. But of course, we all know it as the race with the fight, where the Allisons and Yarborough scuffled in the mud, punched each other, and it has been replayed for years and years and years since this race was run. For my number 1 pick, I have the 2007 Daytona 500. For me, this race encapsulates everything that NASCAR wants to see in a Daytona 500 and that NASCAR fans want to see. And also, it was the last Gen 4 race for the Daytona 500 as well. But here's the thing. The first half of this race, people forget, was very spread out, which, again, I am completely fine with as a fan. It was dominated by 2 guys, Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch. But the big turning point of this race was when both of them got together and crashed themselves out of the race. At that point, it was a free-for-all. Anyone could win this race. And towards the end of the race, there was a tighter pack, more crashes, but the guy who seemed to be getting it done and seemed like was going to cement his legacy with finally getting a 500 was that of Mark Martin in the 01 Ginn Racing Chevrolet for the U.S. Army. And he took the white flag too, ahead of guys like Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth. Though it was Kevin Harvick, who at that point wasn't known as the closer, but started that legacy there, who charged up from about 7th or 8th on the high side, got the big run while the bottom started to disintegrate, and drag raced Mark Martin to the finish to barely beat him to the line, while the rest of the field crashed and Boyer went upside down and on fire. Wow. This race is everything for the guys who like spread out strategic racing, for the guys who like the good packs, for those fans who love close finishes, and of course the fans who love the crashes. And the fact that you had a heartbreak there makes this race even more memorable. I'd even argue that had Mark Martin not lost in heartbreaking fashion but won in a close fashion, we wouldn't remember this race as much as we do. We remember it because we wish that Mark Martin would have won that race. But that's just my thoughts, and to me, that is the best Daytona 500 when you look objectively at them. And with that, those are my 10 picks for the best Daytona 500s.
Nice.
Now I want to hear from you. What are your picks for your top 10, maybe top 5, top 3, or just your favorite Daytona 500?
Another guy that knows to ask a million questions at the end of a video.
Yeah. Questions I've got about NASCAR now is... I remember seeing a thing about women driving in NASCAR not long ago. I wonder how many there are now.
Well, we reacted to the video where there was a female driver.
I know.
What was her name? She was quite famous, wasn't she?
Can't remember, but I know there is. I just wonder how many there are.
Yeah.
And what was the other question I had? Is it the one where they celebrate with milk at the end? Or is that the Indy 500?
I'm not sure.
Ooh,
Is that back to whether or not there's women racing? Or?
No.
Was that a massive crash on the last lap of that race then?
That was you falling asleep. On the driving around doing 2.5 hours drive.
But is there literally like that crash was going on behind them though?
Yeah.
That's
It
what the
looked like
perspective looked like.
Yeah.
So like final lap and it's really close and then suddenly boom and it just
Don't know.
all hell breaks loose.
Don't know, like I say, I dip in and out of it a little bit. If he's
Yeah.
racing, sometimes you're turning it over and it's on, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
on the TV and you think, oh, I'll watch a bit of that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if it's like laps, 7 to 39, you're like, turn that off for a bit, go back to it in another hour.
Yeah.
Motor
definitely.
racing doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I know what you
at
mean.
all.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm watching the crashes, fights, epic moments, all that sort of stuff, I get it. But to sit and watch a whole race of something is just not there for me.
We've been to Formula One, haven't we? Both of us have been at
We
Formula
have,
One.
yeah.
I
think
tried,
live
but
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
I was there, my dad had a heart attack.
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
And that was the end of that.
I did like
so-
it live. It was the Grand Prix at Silverstone
Yeah.
when Hamilton was there and what have you. I really liked it. I mean, I quite like it anyway, but live it was really good. You smell the rubber, that you can get a better perspective of the speed and the sound.
Yeah.
You get the sound
noise.
proper noise.
Did you go
of
when you had the
engines.
old cars when it was noisy?
I think we did. I think Jamie wanted to go with them.
Yeah.
So a lot
kind
of
of
people had
have to-
earplugs
yeah,
in
you have to have earplugs in,
because we
yeah.
went there on practice day and we were really, really close to the cars because you could walk all the way around the track. Gee, it was so loud.
Yeah,
You
it
could
is.
literally
Yeah.
feel your ears ringing
Yeah.
inside, vibrating. It's really
I
off-putting.
I did the testing when they do it in a place called Jerez in Spain. So I went down
Yeah.
testing with
Oh,
we used to sponsor one of the teams. So I went down with Williams, and I actually spent more time with the Lotus team.
Did you?
Like you do, sort of thing.
They had
It was
the bar. They had the bar, didn't they?
They did. They had the better guys, and they were staying in our hotel. So it was it's mint to see when they do the practicing and the testing, because they're testing all like new things, new tires. Well, not new tires because they're all using the same tires, but they're testing all different things. But you can't get anywhere near the garages.
Yeah.
If you're from one garage, they won't not let you anywhere near the other garages.
I can imagine.
You
Yeah.
have to
Trade
privacy and all-
secrets.
Yeah, trade secrets. Yeah, because I was talking to the Lotus guy. I had to go out and sit on the tires outside while we were chatting away, and then go back in the Williams garage, and they were like, pass it. As soon as you went in, you wouldn't even get through to anywhere. Passes, let's see who they are. They know something.
Yeah.
Everyone was going through it. It was real strict.
Yeah. No, I bet it
Even
was.
to the fact of when the car broke down. But when we went back into the stands, we were stood above Michael Schumacher. It was when he drove for. Was it McLaren in the silver McLaren, was it? Mercedes, silver Mercedes.
Mercedes, I think he drove for.
So when he had the silver Mercedes, and he used to drive with the pink helmet, didn't he? So
he did it one
He was
stage,
backing
yeah.
in. He was backing in at the time. Straight away, got him out, covered over the car straight away.
Yeah.
And I was like, look at that. You're not seeing anything there.
Yeah.
Oh, they like to keep the secrets, don't they?
Yeah, it was big time.
But I can imagine that the Daytona in Florida with the sunshine, sit there with a big crate of beer.
Yeah.
That'd be mint, that, and you get all the sound, because the atmosphere at racing is absolutely
it is.
amazing.
It is. I agree.
Because it's all dead friendly crowd and everything.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
After
so.
the first 2 or 3 laps, so you have no idea who's winning. Just the cars going past every few seconds.
Yeah.
So you're just having beers with your mates in the sunshine.
Yeah.
That's the point of it, isn't
That's
it?
what I was doing.
I've
On race day, it was absolutely amazing. It's sunshine all day.
Yeah.
Red arrows going over. I had like crates of beer in front of me.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
If the sun's shining, it's great. I did Abu Dhabi and
Yeah.
Singapore.
Yeah.
So it's two
guaranteed. Well, guaranteed, but pretty much so, aren't you?
I know it's a side note, but there's a Lotus garage near me, and that's one of those where if you were just buying a car that was a bit of fun for track days and stuff like that, Lotuses are just low ties. I don't know what they're called, but there's some sexy cars there.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit big for him, I think, but I have seen Jeremy Clarkson getting him.
Yeah.
He's a bit taller than me.
Yeah, that Elise is quite small.
Yeah.
But I've not done a track day, have you?
No, I've not. No.
Aston
I've
Martin.
got one. I've got one set upstairs. Like an invite for a track day.
No, really?
Yeah.
Right.
It's proper fun. I did a Porsche Carrera GT3, I think it was, and then an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And then I did a fast lap in something else where they drove me. That might have been in a Lotus.
Yeah.
I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
Proper great
Yeah,
day.
I have
It's a
to do
good
it.
fun
Yeah.
thing to
Oh,
do.
nice.
Take them up on the offer and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.